The OC's Seth Cohen is an iconic heartthrob of the early 2000s. He was cute and awkward and always had a hilarious quip ready to go.
Oh, I get it. I'm just here for the comic relief.
But as the show celebrates the 20th anniversary of the end of its mega-hit first season, we can look back and realize that Seth was actually wrong about a lot. His mindset hindered him in so many ways, but many of his faults were also what made him so relatable to many at the time. So let's take a look back at Seth Cohen, what he got wrong about life, and why his growth was so important for him and us.
Well, this should be great. Really great, and not at all awkward.
Many viewers dreamed about dating Seth Cohen at the time, but the reality is that he was a very bad boyfriend. Even before he started dating anyone, he was clearly giving nice guy vibes, even naming his boat after Summer Roberts, who he was too afraid to even talk to. And then, when he does start talking to girls, things don't get much better.
Do I force a confrontation, or do I just continue to be whiny and passive-aggressive until she realizes what a catch I am?
It's not necessarily surprising that a teen who never even really had a proper conversation with a girl prior to when we meet him on the show, much less dated anyone, isn't immediately a great boyfriend. But Seth's bad relationship deeds go far beyond just regular figuring things out. So much of Seth's behavior in relationships is full of red flags looking back, from love bombing to negging. And his biggest problem seems to be that he likes the idea of getting what he wants, but has no idea how to actually deal with it once he has it. Seth had been pining over Summer since they were kids. He saw her as the pinnacle of hot girl he could never hope to get. But when his life gets shaken up by the addition of bad boy Ryan Atwood, who falls for Marissa Cooper, Summer's best friend, all of a sudden, he has an in. And while Summer is initially not interested, as they spend more time together, she does start to fall for him. But once they do finally get together, it's not happily ever after, because Seth can't help but screw things up. Part of this is due to his insecurity, which we'll unpack in a sec, but a big part of it is his ego. Even though he says he loves Summer, he clearly sees her as beneath him.
Despite all my best judgments, I cannot not like her.
And once they get together, it's like that's when he realizes other girls are out there and he wants to explore. When transfer student Anna shows up and shares some of Seth's nerdier interests, he can't decide between the two.
I have no idea. I don't know. No female's ever really offered me a choice. Per se, I really only know how to handle rejection and ridicule. I have a really good handle on ridicule.
But instead of taking a step back and figuring out what he wants, he decides to just string them both along. He's indecisive because deep down he thinks he should be able to have everything he wants. Why should he have to choose just one girl?
I just want to say one little thing in my defense, which is you can't really blame me for wanting the company of either of you two.
It's not inconceivable that a teen who had gone from outcast nerd to having two pretty girls interested in him in the span of a school semester would get caught up in how nice it is to feel wanted. But the fact that he then chooses to continue to string them both along to feed his own ego is a big problem.
Summer, Anna, Seth?
Seth often goes with what's easiest rather than doing the actual work to get what he wants. He spent all of that time pining after Summer instead of actually trying to talk to her. And then, when he's torn between Summer and Anna, he makes the choice not based on desire, but just on who happens to show up. After he and Anna break up, then he decides to go back to Summer.
The whole reason that we broke up is because for me, it's always been you, Summer.
But even after his declaration of love, it's not smooth sailing for the couple. They seem to finally be in a good place, but when Ryan decides to go back to Chino, Seth takes off on his boat for 3 months, leaving Summer nothing but a note. He was understandably shaken by Ryan's departure, and is, after all, only a teen trying to deal with a lot of big emotions. But to totally ghost Summer after they finally started to make things work was not cool. When he comes back, Summer has rightfully started moving on. And Seth does too, dating Alex. But even though he's seeing someone else, he can't stand the fact that Summer is with someone else. And so, of course, he wedges his way into a relationship with Zach until it's ruined, and she's free to come back to him. You would think that, after all of this, Seth would finally get it together and be the dreamy boyfriend he should be. But in reality, he continues to let his attitude and poor choices cause problems in their relationship. He often puts Summer down, and when she gets a better score on the SATs and accepted to Brown while he doesn't, he can't even fathom it. As much as he might have desired Summer, he always saw her as beneath him, so realizing that she was actually the smart, capable one the whole time totally shook his world. But thankfully, Seth does show growth by the end of the series. Once he realizes how important Summer's activist work is to her, and how great she is at it, he pushes her to pursue her dreams, even if it means they'll be apart.
I just want to give you room to keep doing what you're doing, because I think it's pretty amazing. So if you don't hear from me for a while, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I do.
Seth was a stereotypical hipster nerd. He felt like everyone looked down on him for the things he liked, while simultaneously looking down on everyone else for their tastes. To be fair, comic books, video games, and indie music weren't as widely accepted back then.
I'm sweating to death driving 10 miles an hour on like a rickshaw listening to this music.
Hey, do not insult Death Cab.
It's like one guitar and a whole lot of complaining.
And many of his nerdier interests were seen as something for only the dweebiest of dweebs.
So when you lost your virginity, I was playing Magic the Gathering.
You still play Magic?
Yeah, but not as much.
But Seth was constantly prickly about matters of taste, always assuming everyone else's must be worse than his. And if someone had the same interests or knowledge, it must be some kind of trick. His assumptions led him to keep up a wall that made it much more difficult for him to realize that he actually had a lot of common ground with all of these people he felt were so different from him.
Avril Lavigne doesn't count as punk.
Oh yeah? Well, what about the Cramps? Stiff Little Fingers? The Clash? Sex Pistols?
I listen to the same music as Marissa Cooper.
Thankfully, as he begins opening up to people, he comes around to the idea that he can have friends and that he can relate to his peers in surprising ways.
Who is this?
No one. I'm not no one. Princess Sparkle, what do you want?
I think you just capped your notes tight.
He also learns that all of those people he thought were impossibly cool also have weird quirks and insecurities just like him.
You weren't the only virgin in the room.
There's someone else in the room? Like filming us?
Me, jackass. I felt like I had this reputation to uphold, and I figured you'd think less of me or something.
No. Are you kidding? Not at all.
Want more of the take and to have a say in what we cover? Check out our exclusive members-only series on our Patreon where you get to vote on what we cover next. Seth was an awkward teen who had a hard time making friends.
Oh, hey, do you want to play Grand Theft Auto? It's pretty cool. You can, like, steal cars. Not that that's cool. Or uncool, I don't know.
But just like with his love life, once he does have friends, we realize that the problem wasn't always just everyone else. Because he had shut himself off from his peers for so long, he had convinced himself that he was a loner because all of his peers were too cool to hang out with him. But the reality is that he never really tried reaching out and making connections either.
I've lived next door to you forever and you've never done or said anything to me.
Oh my God, you're the one who never talks to me. You think you're so much better than everyone.
I do.
And even with how much he resented his own outsider status, he had no problem making other people feel left out. He was so focused on himself that he often didn't even really realize that he was treating people the way he complained everyone else was treating him. Even though Ryan was usually struggling with significantly bigger issues, Seth always wanted the focus to be on him. Ryan became kind of like his part-time therapist and guide through normal people world. But Seth often forgot that friendship should be reciprocal.
So, do you want to tell me about your night? Or, since I already heard about it, could we just skip to my breakup with Anna?
But with Ryan's help, he was able to grow into a better, if not perfect, friend.
That's because no one lived there as funny as you.
Hey, so we finally agree I'm the funny one. Well, look at that. It looked like we all learned some valuable lessons this Thanksgiving.
Seth was constantly making jokes to hide his true feelings or avoid difficult conversations. This is something most of us do to some degree, and it also led to some great lines.
About my best friend,
Princess Sparkle is freaking out?
Marissa, dumbass.
Oh, I always get those two confused. They have really shiny hair.
But it was also a major hindrance to his ability to form real, deep relationships and grow as a person. He leaned on his sense of humor as a crutch to the point where he kind of couldn't turn it off.
How can you even joke about this?
Because, I don't know, I have to. I'm not emotionally equipped to actually process this information.
And this is because, for a long time, trying to make a joke of things was the only way he could deal with all of the parts of his life that he was unhappy with. He couldn't figure out how to change things, so he tried to just laugh it all off. This habit also has a sharper edge, though, because he also often used his jokes to be rather rude to the people around him, under the guise of light humor. But then, of course, was always afraid to be honest when it really mattered. But once he stopped using his keen sense of humor only as a shield, he was also able to use it to uplift others and build connections.
How do you feel about Newport charity events, huh?
I hate them.
Me too, so what do you say you come with me to one, we'll hang out, and we'll just quietly mock people.
And to be fair to Seth, sometimes humor was the only answer to the ridiculous 2000 soap opera plotlines he was living through.
Me and Marissa, we could be related. I don't know, I can't even do that math. But the real kicker is, Julie Cooper, my grandma. My grandma wears Uggs. Think about it.
Seth's self-centeredness and insecurity made a pretty bad combination for him and everyone else around him.
I get it, I deserve it.
He very seldom stopped to think about how his actions might affect anyone else. He seemed to tell himself it was because what he did didn't really matter to anyone else. But really, it was just because he was always the most concerned with himself.
So I didn't even get a review at all, huh? Not that I would read my own press, but I mean, nothing involving thumbs or stars or...
Seth's focus was always on Seth's feelings above all else. Putting yourself first certainly isn't always a bad thing, but Seth outright ignored everyone else's wants and needs to the detriment of his relationships with them.
Ryan, you sleep? Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry, I'm gonna let you go back to sleep, okay?
And his self-absorbed nature meant that he often didn't even notice he was doing it. And if he did, he didn't really see it as a bad thing.
I just need to talk about me for like several more hours at least. I thought you didn't do that anymore. No, that was the new Seth Cohen. I'm back, Ryan. Cohen classic, red, white, and me, come on.
He had no problem being dishonest for his own gain, even if it means lying to the people he's closest to. Though he often finds a way to justify it, like when he just doesn't tell Summer the truth that his comic book publisher with an androgynous name is a woman who he's flirty with. He's also careless with things that are important to those around him that he doesn't feel invested in personally. Like when he accidentally burnt down the Newport Group building during his weed addiction arc. Despite his many faults, Seth became a beloved character because the good person underneath always managed to shine through.
Oh, I got you something.
No. We had an agreement.
Yeah, but this is different. This is a requirement. I know it's a bit venti, but, you know, we all have one, so we just thought.
And while some of his quirks might have been grating, he was a pretty realistic representation of a loner teen nerd of that era. Well, except for the fact that he low-key looked like a model, but I mean, it was Orange County.
We make a good team. I'm the brains, you're the brawn.
Hey, how come you're the brains? I'm the one who talked us back into that club.
I'm sorry, I'm the brains. You can be the beauty. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're the beauty, he's the brawn, I'm the brains. Perfect.
Sure, he was immature, but he was literally a child. Given that he was played by grown adult Adam Brody, it can be easy to forget that Seth was only 16 at the start of the show.
We're being stealth.
Looking back at any of us at 16, we quickly realize that we were wrong about so many things. And that's the beauty of growing up. You get the chance to learn from your mistakes and change for the better. And over the course of the OC's 4 seasons, Seth started doing just that. He was never the perfect guy, but he did evolve into a better, if not less annoying, person.
Careful, lady. My girlfriend's gonna be here any second.
Shut up, Cohen.
Hey, you just punched me. My baby's back.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.